Live from the basement car park at Area 51 and broadcast worldwide in association with leading radio stations via the internet. It's the Elegant Universe. Your hosts abducted from Melbourne, Australia. Here's Peter Gagliardi and Shane Hill. Welcome to 94.1 FM 3WBC. Worldwide on the internet, you can tune in to the Elegant Universe. Thanks for joining us once again. We've got Susie J.
Good Friday to you.
Our conspiracy theory expert, Frankie.
Hello, hello.
And, of course, your host with the most, a legend in his own bath time. And you're here because you know what's bad for you. Peter.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. Okay, we've got some pretty hardcore news today. We've figured out why the mysterious snail rocks move.
Why?
Snail rocks.
Later on.
Snails move rocks.
Well, it looks like a snail. Anyway, people have probably heard about it. There was also a very, very top secret thing that happened in the deserts in Africa.
Yeah, but we can't say.
But we can't say that yet because that is full on.
We can't say anything because it's top secret.
Yeah. But only on this show. Anyway, go to the Elegant Universe on Facebook and give your comments, questions, queries, suggestions, anything you might have about anything you've heard that's weird, wacky or strange.
Yep.
And we'll talk about it on the show. So let's go to a break and we'll come back after this.
Remember, we want to know what you think, so stay tuned.
Hit me!
Welcome back to the show. For those who are interested, my dinosaur died. My pterodactyl's okay, but my dinosaur died.
Was that the one on the roof?
Yeah. No, the one on the roof is fine.
Oh, that's the pterodactyl.
That's the pterodactyl's on the roof. The one in the front yard died.
How?
Yeah, remember that big wind we had?
Yeah. Oh.
Dead dinosaur.
Really? Oh, that's...
Front yard.
Everyone's probably thinking,
terrible.
What the...
Well, yeah, I'm thinking, this is the first I've heard
here we
of you
go.
having
Here we go.
dinosaurs.
Not many people know this. I have a dinosaur in my front dinosaur in my front yard and a pterodactyl on the roof.
What, terracotta ones or something? Or plastic?
No,
or
I'm
what are we talking about?
The bones of
A
dinosaurs.
skeleton, a huge, almost full-size skeleton.
Yeah.
I don't know. The person who lived in the house before us must have been a paleontologist or an
something.
idiot.
Yeah.
And they had dinosaur skeletons in the front yard.
Have you ever taken photos?
Oh yeah. There's photos
I want to
available.
see photos.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
You want evidence?
I want evidence.
Well, this show isn't about evidence.
Yeah, no.
We're
we
about
don't do
hearsay.
evidence.
You know, you just got to take people's
I
words
want
for it.
evidence.
Conjecture,
Everything but evidence.
behind.
No, I'm sure I can
Dinosaurs.
locate. Somebody must have taken photos.
I didn't take a photo. I should
never
have
did.
actually.
Why would I?
So what, there's still one on your roof?
Yeah, there's still a
Okay, I want photos.
Of the pterodactyl.
All right,
yeah.
we'll arrange photos and we'll put them on the Facebook page, which is
Yeah.
where?
The Elegant Universe on Facebook. Pretty easy.
Easy to
Pretty
find.
easy. Just look for the radio show. 94.1 FM. Okay, we've got news. What have we got?
We've got Chappelle Corby. Yay!
I heard about this.
You know that I have this passion for following Chappelle Corby. When I
Yep.
first started here, one of my
yep.
first stories.
Yeah,
was
it
Chappelle
was.
Corby. So Chappelle Corby, for those of you who have
Like
been
anyone
hanging out with the
doesn't know.
pterodactyl, whatever it's called,
Yeah, yeah.
dinosaur,
Yeah.
met a guy called Ben Panangian. I can't really
Okay.
pronounce his last name. While she was in Karabokan, he was in there and serving time for drug offences.
Yeah.
So he has just apparently been arrested again for allegedly having drugs.
Who? Her or him?
Boyfriend.
Oh.
So the thing is that because she's on parole,
Yeah.
and she's got very strict
Things.
rules of what
Yeah.
she can and can't do.
And who she can
Yeah,
hang
yeah.
with.
Well, maybe her parole is now up in the air. But on the other flip side of the story, her, what do you call them again? The guys that you have to report to when you're out on
Parole
bail?
officer.
That's the
Yes.
word.
It's funny that Shane would know that. Let's go on.
No, that's because I've worked with them.
Oh, yeah, sure.
What's
Okay.
that ankle bracelet for? Anyway, so her parole officer said, well, she's not married to him and
Yeah.
there's no real evidence of anything, so her parole's going to be fine. But do you know what I find ridiculous and hilarious and
What's
just
that?
downright gets to me about this whole thing?
Yeah.
Is marijuana is so big in Bali. Like, I have
Yeah.
friends that have been there. I've been there once, and you can get marijuana anywhere.
Mhm.
And her so-called, 4.5 kilos of marijuana that she smuggled in
Yeah.
wasn't even there once they all went to court, because all the officers and all of that
They're
were,
smoking
detaining her and all of that were all sticking their hands into it.
That's
So
Well, it's a week's
fantastic.
supply for a Hindu priest, so,
it just blows my mind.
I won't mention any names, but I know someone who used to work on the police force, and they said if somebody gets arrested and they've got like a kilo, by the time it gets to the station, it's half a kilo.
Yeah.
By the time it gets through processing, it's a quarter.
To the evidence locker, it's like 1 gram.
Exactly. And then, And I'm not saying that,
No.
but I have heard.
Possession is 9/10 of the law.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, though.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What I can't get why she smuggled it there to
She
begin
didn't.
with. Okay, even if she didn't.
She didn't.
Let's say other people who got busted doing it.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Well, exactly.
The
Why would
payroll
you?
here is a lot higher than there.
Like, what is it? The
Not
barley
talking
wine.
from experience or
What
anything.
were they done for? Blowing something up? Or
They were done. It was the big bombing over there, but they were some of them were because they were the ones who built it.
Yeah.
But some of them have even been released.
Yeah.
Now, hang on. The Barley 9,
Yeah.
Shane, are 9 convicted heroin traffickers
Yes,
from Australia.
not bombers.
They're not the bombers.
Okay.
I
No.
didn't think so, yeah.
No. The bombers you're referring to are
Oh,
Jamaat
sorry.
Islamiyah
Yes,
operatives
yes, that's it.
that have been put to death.
Yes,
Oh, really?
All put to death.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
What,
They're-
so,
they're
but
as
the
dead
barley
as
9,
Dillinger.
we go back to the drug
And one of them was
Right,
really
yeah.
unremorseful too. Like he's like,
One of
you
them,
can
yeah,
all
was
suck
laughing
it.
and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
full on.
Yeah,
Whoever that was,
Sukumaran.
I don't know
Yeah.
his name.
Yeah, Sukumaran, his name was. He's
He was crazy.
Yeah.
yeah, crazy
Actually,
guy.
I just saw it was on Sunday night or 60 Minutes or something.
Yeah.
There's a British reporter or someone like that is now dating.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone see any of this? I hope I'm not
No.
getting the story mixed up. She's dating one of the Barley 9. And
That is
this
correct.
This
Yes,
is
I heard.
another
Is that true?
thing, Is that he's in
I don't
there
know.
on camera smoking something.
An e-cigarette.
Oh, was
Yeah.
that really an e-cigarette? 'Cause it
Yes,
looked
but that's
pretty
just
out
Channel
of it.
9, dressing it up as something else so people go, oh, look, someone in jail taking drugs. We have to watch that,
But
Dar.
there's
We got to
evidence
watch it,
they
Dar.
do
We gotta
heroin
watch
and
it,
all
Dar."
that in jail over there.
Hey?
There's evidence that jail, all
Oh,
the
well, of
people over
course,
there are
of
doing
course.
heroin in that jail.
Of
and,
course, of course.
Anyway,
But we
it's
need to get back to the story, Susie J, which
yeah,
is
yeah,
Chappelle's boyfriend.
yeah. What?
Well, he's been arrested, but she will or won't be connected to it. Her parole officer says, well, there's no evidence they were married and she shouldn't be connected to it anyway.
So the Indonesian parole system does not rely on the birds of a feather stick together rule.
Well,
You're listening to The Elegant Universe. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to 94.1 3WBC FM. If you just tuned in, you're involved in our big UFO show. Yes, last week we decided that this week's show was going to be all about UFOs. So if it's weird, bizarre, or unusual, as I said at the time, I had joined up a whole bunch. You know how you can get groups on Facebook? Have
Yep.
you seen
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Yep.
There's all kinds of groups. Now, some of them are really good. Some you want to hide from people that you don't want to see. But the problem is, all the groups you remember of are linked all down the side.
Yeah.
So anyone logging onto your homepage can see what groups you're in.
Yeah.
So I've had to
Yeah.
leave a lot of groups. But anyway, I joined up all these different UFO groups. There's a Melbourne UFO group, and there's people seeing UFOs in Melbourne almost every night.
Yeah.
The question came up last week, Susie. You said, can UFOs be...
Well, detected if they're entering our...
Yes.
atmosphere by...
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is a good question.
Yeah, right.
It's a great
And
question for
radar.
UFOs and stuff
Which
like that.
brings in Frankie.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Now, okay, radar cases.
Mm-hmm.
Radar cases of UFO sightings. Now, radar sightings of UFOs are remarkably common. It's actually the most authentic way
Yep.
of detecting UFO and the most common. I think it's, according to VUFORS, the Victorian UFO Society,
Yeah, yeah.
81% of all of their reports
Mm.
come through radar detections. And this is basically guys sitting out at Essendon Airport, Tullamarine,
Yeah, yeah.
Surreptitiously ringing them up and saying, hey, look,
Ringing them
my name's Bill, and I'm a radar operator, and I saw a UFO. I'm not going to tell you any more than that. And there have been some celebrated cases.
Mm-hmm.
There was one in 1956 at Lakenheath in England,
Yeah.
which is a British RAF base,
Yep.
where they actually detected a UFO entering not only their airspace but landing on the base.
What?
Rumour has it. Now
Yeah.
this is where a bit of a conspiracy theory
rumour.
comes in.
Yeah.
Rumour has it that Lord Mountbatten actually went and greeted the occupants of said ship.
Okay.
Yeah. That's according to.
Yeah,
there you go.
So they must have been very young male aliens.
No, that's according to
No, come on,
an
he
author.
started the Scouts.
Well,
And the
no,
Cubs.
No, he didn't start the Scouts. It was Baden Powell. Come on.
Well, who did you say? You said
Lord Mountbatten,
Oh,
which is Prince
so they
Charles's
must have been
uncle.
young male aliens.
Actually, Prince Charles does look like a bit of an alien, don't you think?
Have you ever noticed the royal family all look like clones, bad clones of each other?
They
Now,
really do.
hang on,
Yeah,
that's
no,
that's
now,
a
now.
conspiracy
We
theory
digress.
for another day. That's another day. But the most celebrated case in Australia of a UFO detection by radar is the Ralph Valentich case. It was a guy basically took off with a load of goods bound for King Island. He took off for Moorabbin late one winter's night in, I think, 1978, flying over Bass Strait, reported that there was something flying next to him that wasn't an aircraft. The radar guys at Moorabbin actually had said object on radar buzzing around him. They then heard a strange noise through the microphone, and both objects disappeared off the radar, and the aircraft's never been found.
What were his goods? That's the question.
His dad's written a book.
You got a bit
about
of in your cargo, do you?
Well, I don't know. I
Yeah,
think,
but
you know,
what the radar doesn't take. You see, but there are
No,
problems
but
with
have
it,
you ever
though.
seen
It's like-
Batman? You know, Bane takes the whole plane out, rips the wings off
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything,
yeah,
take the whole
yeah.
plane, take the cargo. Could have been
Yeah.
a really well thought out
Yeah,
Bane operation, you know,
Yeah.
while Batman's busy.
could be.
You
But
know, you never know.
I'm still left confused over how, if these are cited and they are registered, then why is it still a question of whether there are UFOs or not?
Because what they're really saying is not unidentified flying object. What they're really saying is alien spacecraft.
Yeah,
Because
So there's a
because
difference.
all
Yeah.
the time there's unidentified flying stuff in the sky. All the
Yeah.
time, like you know how
Doesn't
you
mean
mistake a
it's
plane
from
in the
another
sky.
planet.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's an alien.
Yeah, they admit there's UFOs,
But
unidentified
not,
stuff
they
in the
can't
sky.
confirm alien
Yeah.
spacecraft.
the
Okay.
RAAF still runs an office of UFO sightings.
Yeah.
They're reluctant to discuss anything outside of, if it is an unidentified flying object.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They prefer to identify it only to keep people calm.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
want,
Yeah, because
people
you look like a nut job too. If you went, did you see what was on the radar? Jumped from here to here to here, bang, you'd go, yep, sure, buddy.
And that is why so many radar operators are reluctant to give their name and details
Yeah.
because they would be painted as
That's
being
right.
crazy.
That's right.
Yes. I was up all night last night watching, looking at the skies for UFOs again, as I usually am, because now the dinosaur's not blocking the view.
Yeah.
So I was really, really tired and I couldn't sleep.
That happens to you often, not being able to sleep.
Yeah.
But funny, you should bring that up today in today's show.
Yeah, Shane.
Yeah.
Because
funny.
I just happen to have 10 tips to help you get a better
Oh,
night's
this will be
sleep.
great.
We'll come back after the break with the 10 tips.
That'd be
Excellent.
awesome. Welcome back to the special UFO edition of the Elegant Universe. Now, as we said, I've been having
Hubble.
Hubble telescope trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
Susie.
Okay, so here's 10 tips. Now, I'm not suggesting by any means that I believe them.
Oh,
that-
those kind of tips,
or
right?
that I'm going to stand by them. But here's one, and this
Okay.
one's pretty, I don't know why you wouldn't think this anyway, but go to bed at the same time every night, set an alarm for the same time every morning.
What?
Yeah.
So they're saying that you need to work out your life
Yep.
Oh, I
and
get
get
it.
yourself to bed every night
Yeah.
at the same time.
This is a personal dig at me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, go on.
Because we're dimmer switches, apparently. So we need to, dim ourselves down into a sleep pattern. That's basically what they're saying.
Okay.
2, develop a specific routine.
Yep.
Set a cut-off time for technology, listening to, watching the TV or anything.
Yep.
Set a cut-off time for that.
Oh, see, this is the thing. I can't sleep unless I've got my audio books or my documentaries
well,
on.
they say audio books are good.
Yeah, and I have thousands of documentaries. I mean, literally
Yeah.
terabytes, and I put them on, and It's like remember as a kid and someone would read you a story and you drift off to sleep? It works like that for me.
Well, see, you're halfway there, Shane.
Okay.
Okay.
But some people, like, I don't take my phone to bed or anything like that. I don't take anyone to bed, actually, these days. But anyway, I don't even have a TV in my room anymore. Because
See, I don't take my phone to bed either, but it seduces me every night and, ends up, and I'm going, no, we shouldn't be doing this, and my phone's like, no, it's just a one-off.
And
it's just but it's one-off every night.
Yeah, the toaster's in the kitchen going, I don't know about this.
Get up in the morning and the GPS is like, I saw you talking to the toaster last night.
What's going on? You and the phone. What's happening with that?
So 3, snooze.
It drives you off a bridge.
Yeah.
Snooze foods, number 3. So sleep patterns are regulated by hormones, which serotonin and melatonin, which are affected by what we eat. So before bedtime, turkey's a well-known one around Thanksgiving. I think in America, it's everyone gets tired after turkey.
Yeah.
But some other suggestions are fish and beef and bananas, whole grains, figs, and Vegemite.
Mm-hmm.
Shane's getting tired as we speak, thinking about eating a tryptophan-laced sandwich, turkey sandwich.
I'll give you one more, and then I can do the others later if you're still awake. Never go to sleep on an argument. Would I get that?
Oh, that's why.
How could you go to sleep on an argument?
Yeah, you can't.
I hate you, and
you've got to get the last word in, don't you?
That's marital advice that goes back to the pharaohs. Man. That's like,
Exactly. So, because otherwise, I find if I've got something on my mind, I don't fall asleep. Like, I can't. Or I have a very, very restless night. So sometimes I write things down. If I know that I still want to pick at you the next morning, I'll write it down so it's out of my head, but I'll never forget it in the morning.
I can just imagine that. I've got a scene in my head. Frankie, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, it's kind of hard to fall asleep next to someone that you just said, I hate your guts to.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was thinking of this scene, right, from what Susie was saying. You go to bed and, like, you've had a bit of a round, she's like, just go to sleep, and you go to sleep. And, she's writing in blood all over the walls, all the problems. Yeah. And you wake up to, like, a satanic ritual in the morning. Okay.
Why do you think girls keep diaries?
That's crazy.
You're right.
That's just crazy. What have we uncovered here?
Okay, number 5. Sorry, I know I was going to leave, but number 5, this is halfway.
Yep.
So don't read novels on your iPhones or smartphones or your tablets, because the blue light from those is thought to hamper body's ability to produce sleep hormone.
Okay.
So
no-brainer number 5.
Shane, you haven't stopped yawning since I started talking about it.
Yeah.
I think I just need to talk to you about falling asleep, and you might just do that.
Well, as a professional hypnotist, that's what I do. I talk and people fall asleep. Yeah, we'll be back after this little nap. Welcome back to the special UFO, that means Unidentified Flying Object edition of the Elegant Universe, live on 94.1 FM and worldwide, because we've got listeners in Croydon.
Or the car park.
Yeah, the car park.
Actually, we have one in Sydney that I know of.
Yes,
My
we have one in Sydney.
Andrew.
Hello to Sydney. Hello, Andrew. Mickey. We met Andrew last week. Yeah. So, I won't ask on air. Let's get back to UFOs.
Yes, let's get back to it. Okay.
Africa.
Something really, really crazy has just come to be on the internet recently, on WikiLeaks. We all know what WikiLeaks is, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know how they leak documents and all this sort of thing? Well, apparently they've leaked some documents, and I actually got to see this. Have you guys heard about this?
Well, what is it?
The meteor in Africa. Have you heard anything about that?
I have heard about it, but I didn't see the documents. But
well, get this right. Years and years ago, they picked up a UFO type object on the radar, because I think this might have been in the beginning stages of when radar was trying to pick up UFO. I don't know.
That was 1947.
Something like that. But what happened was this object came out of the sky and it acted a little bit irregular, and it crashed in the deserts somewhere in Africa. I can't remember exactly the one, but whatever, right? And it crashed.
Whatever.
Yeah. And when the military went to check out the crash site, apparently they found a wreckage, obviously, but they couldn't really establish what it was. But sometime later, they discovered a really, really young kid.
Okay.
And they thought this is...
later?
This is well, they found this kid wandering around.
So sort of
in the desert.
within the week or something.
Yeah, well, within a couple of hours in the same sort of vicinity.
Yep.
And this kid was wearing different type of clothes, so they pulled this kid up and said, "You're in the middle of Africa. You're standing out." And they couldn't establish the language, so they took this kid off and they ran some experiments on him to test, to see what he was, where the hell he was from, and apparently he was a robot.
What?
Yeah. This is what these documents said. And then after that point, once it was established that his origin was AI in nature, everything went blank. There's no trace of the wreckage, there's no trace of the files, there's no trace of anything. And then about a day or so after the WikiLeaks article was up, that's gone too.
Really?
There's nothing of it.
And that robot went on to lead the Springboks to World Cup rugby victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's craziness.
I went quiet because I'm just astounded.
Yeah.
Okay.
When did this happen? What year was this?
Well, as Shane was saying, probably 1970 something.
1947 is a weird year.
Yeah.
Because in 1947, we had the Roswell crash,
Yeah.
which we're going to get to.
Yeah.
Radar was established or perfected. It was perfected a little bit before in World War II, but it came into its own. The transistor was discovered.
Yeah,
Velcro was discovered or invented, back engineered. And the list of stuff that arrived or appeared out of nowhere after the Roswell crash in and I'm not saying there's a connection.
There's a connection.
I'm not saying there's. there's a connection.
There is. There's a massive connection.
It's kind of weird if you look at history and you type in 1947 history. So much technology just mysteriously appeared out of nowhere that you have to ask the question:
where did it come from?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
The stealth fighter.
Yeah.
That was finalised. Well, they got the bit that makes it invisible appeared in 1947. The radar frequent jamming thing or whatever it is. So much happened. It's an incredible year to look at 1947.
Yeah.
Because how old were you in 1947?
I wasn't even born in 1947.
I'm only kidding.
Yes.
So if you, let's say a UFO has this thing like a stealth bomber to make itself invisible on a radar, do they deliberately turn it off?
Obviously not all of them.
To fly through radars?
Yeah. See, this is...
Like to rev people up or something? Look at these humans. They're going to think do they just switch it off?
Maybe that's how they get into our universe.
Here's the other thing, too. Here's the other thing. When you actually look at all the UFO cases, when we look at some famous Australian ones in a minute, when you look at them and you go back to the Adamski years or the contactee years, like so many of them, but they all claim that the aliens are thousands of years ahead, right? But when you look at the technology, realistically, everything that's described in these UFO reports, we've had within 25 to 50 years later.
Yeah.
So they're not thousands of years ahead.
No.
They're only 25 to 50 years ahead.
Yeah.
So, it's
because they had like flashlights and stuff.
Yeah, and they go, there was a screen and it had information on it, computer.
Yeah.
And it was only like 20 years later we ended up with computers. And now that we've all got them, you've got one.
Yeah.
I've got one.
Yeah.
Aliens have got one.
The thing that people don't realise that if aliens are so technologically advanced, which they evidently are, if they're going to contact someone, it's not going to be, some hick in the country. It'll be someone important. They'll do it in secret. They'll do it
it's like going
and they've probably already done it.
Well, it's like going to hooker, though, discretion. Nobody's going to believe them.
But do you know how a few weeks ago I was talking about how there's an airline that's trying to make a plane fast enough to fly from England to Australia in 2 hours?
Yeah.
I've just started having these visions of the UFOs up there, or the Martians up there in their own world.
Yeah.
They've already done that.
Okay.
And they're just coming into our universe, having a lot of fun with us and disappearing, and they're all up there laughing. That's what I think.
It's a distinct possibility.
Or it could be the complete polar opposite to that. They come here and they go, do you see this? They've got an electromagnetic train. Why don't we have that? And they fly back and go, hey, guys, we need to do this. Everything we've invented, they try. And then they come here in their UFOs and abduct people to go, we're more superior, but realistically they're stealing their iPhones.
Now, Peter, I think you actually may be touching on something that is top secret, and that is to do with butter churns.
Butter churns?
Maybe they want to steal butter churns.
Yeah.
This is why they carry out so many experiments on cows.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Aliens
yeah.
don't have access to milk, but they love butter.
Yeah.
They're
How-
addicted to butter.
How do you know they love butter? Am I missing
Because
something here?
they're knocking off all the cows. You
Well,
know, all the cows
I'm
being-
putting this down to the freak that handed me a butter sample at Box Hill Station this afternoon. And I mean, that person that handed me that sample, I don't
Alien.
think it
A
was from
butter
this planet.
sample?
I'm
Alien.
telling you, ladies and gentlemen, get down to Box Hill Central and check it out.
Well, wait a minute. A butter sample.
A butter sample. I have got butter
Who
sample in
gives
my
you butter
bag.
samples?
Someone gave me a butter
Aliens.
sample at
Hey,
Box Hill
what a
Central.
great segue. Speaking of butter, let's have another sleeping tip.
Wait, just before we do,
Yeah.
that's like something you get in jail. Like a guy gives you butter, and you're like, "What's this for?" Lube. Yeah,
You know the best lubrication in prison. The best lubrication in prison.
tears.
Tears. Yeah.
So Stu, I want to know more about this ankle bracelet you're wearing, Shane. Okay, so number 6, chocolate treats. Don't go to bed on an empty stomach. So you know how at hotels they always leave little chocolate treats on the pillows and that. Sometimes, people might think I can't eat chocolate before going to bed. But apparently this is good because low blood sugar levels release a hormone, glucagon glucagons or something.
Gluco, big word of Hobblers.
Glucagons, that was it. Which have similar
From the
effects.
planet Gluke. I am a glucagon.
Which have similar effects to fight or flight hormones. So adrenaline, which wakes you up and will keep you awake. So by having a little piece of chocolate or something before you go to bed, they're suggesting it's going to help.
That'll wake me up.
Shane's getting sleepy
We'll
again.
be back after this. Dinosaurs, interdimensional aliens from beyond Dimension X.
Yep.
Dinosaurs, tips on sleeping, a whole bunch of other stuff. Where are we going to now?
Susie J's Way.
Susie J's Way. What is that?
This is my new segment.
Okay.
Okay, so here's what
Whose
I'm
idea
going...
was Peter? Did you give her her own segment? What's going on?
No, she just sort of
Did
took
I
it.
did I authorise?
I'm just that kind of girl.
All right.
Coming up
Taking
with my
charge.
own segments. So here's what my segment is about.
Okay.
I'm going to share with you things that I do. I want you to get to know me, the boys here in the room to get to know me, and the listeners out there to get to know me.
Yep.
But in return, I want to get to know you.
All
Yep.
So whenever I do my Susie J's Way segment,
Right.
I need you to respond in the same way. Don't look at me sideways,
No,
Shane.
no, that's how I have to keep the microphone in line. Go on.
Okay, so my first Susie J's Way today is the way that I sleep.
Right.
Okay.
So I've taken a
Okay.
photo of it, which I'm about to post up on Susie
Okay.
J at the Elegant Universe.
There's a
Yep.
photo
Now,
of
now,
you
hang on.
sleeping.
Hang on. There are laws against
Yeah.
certain
Okay.
things. You are
All
of the right age, I hope.
Let me explain. Let me explain.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, I wasn't able to sleep because the sun was coming in. And so I just grabbed my extra pillow that was beside me and I put it on top of my head.
Right.
So it's basically just sort of over my eyes and my forehead. And because it's winter and it's been so cold, then I've got my covers pulled up right underneath my chin. And I was there, laying there last night, and I amuse myself quite often, very easily.
Yeah.
My hands were above the...
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. We got it.
And I realised that this must look really weird, but ever since I've started doing this, I've been having the best sleeps ever. This should be my top 10 tips.
Yeah, it should.
How to sleep.
Yes.
So, if you walked in and saw me in bed, all you would see would be my nose and my mouth and my
Right.
chin. That's all you'd see.
Cool. And you're going to post this.
I'm posting, so I've done
Cool.
a selfie. It's not a very good one, and I've got a
Yeah.
friend coming from Sydney to stay this weekend, so I'll get him to take a proper photo.
Right.
Okay.
So there'll be a better one coming, but for now I'm going to post the selfie.
So a
and-
guy's flying all the way from Sydney to take photos of you in your bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, just take
lucky,
photos.
lucky.
This
But
is how popular the ex-mystery girl Susie J is, ladies and
But
gentlemen.
here's what I want. I want people to post the way that they sleep.
Oh, we get
Okay.
it now. Yes.
I want people
Great
to post.
idea.
So I want you guys in here to get
ain't-
someone to take a photo of you
that
in
ain't
bed
happening.
and the way that you sleep.
You know, this just reminded me of something. I used to fly around all the time, And I came up with this way of, you know how you sleep, and like I'm pretty tall, so if I try and lean back in one of those, I don't really lean back.
Right. Yep.
Or if I put the tray table out, right, trying
Yep.
to sleep on that's just ridiculous. Right. But I came up with this absolute foolproof method. You get the pillow, and you know how you put like a pillowcase over it, right?
Yeah.
You open the pillowcase and you put it over your head.
What?
Yeah, you put the pillowcase over your head with the pillow still in it, right? And then you just lean forward and lean the pillow on the back of the seat. Bang, I was gone.
So your face is...
So my head's in the pillow, but I'm sleeping.
I see. I love this. You need to get a photo of that.
Okay.
But see, I'd have to get on a plane again.
So where do we go to find photos of Susie sleeping?
At Susie J at the Elegant Universe.
Susie
There
J
you go.
at the Elegant Universe.
Send me
And
friend
in-
requests. Send me friend requests.
Yeah.
and upload photographs of you sleeping.
Yes.
Yes.
And what we'll do is, great idea here, guys.
Yep.
Yep.
The best one wins a prize.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't have
But
anything to do
you
with
get
me,
to
does it?
choose. No,
No, Susie gets to choose.
You
obviously.
get to choose the best one.
But we'll all
and then
put photos of ourselves up.
Yep.
Yeah.
In our
I think we-
compromising sleep position.
I think we'll get some interesting photographs. And next week, another Susie J's Way.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go now to a break.
Yep.
You sure?
Yeah.
Do we deserve a break? I think we deserve. I think our listeners
Yep.
deserve a break.
Yeah, from us.
Yeah, don't forget Susie J's Way.
Yep.
Put the kettle on, would you?
Universe,
Mhm.
the only place in the entire universe where you can hear the stuff that goes on here. Yeah. There's nowhere else in the universe. Let's go to the news.
Okay, so I wonder, after reading this story, how deep-seated fear is in us these days, especially
Okay,
after
yeah.
September 11th and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and, you know, it comes down to mob mentality and what have you. A fainting experience for a guy that was on a train in Beijing led an entire carriage of people to run from this train carriage because a guy had fainted.
Right.
Okay, so no one knew that he had fainted, and then there's actually just a shot of him just laying passed out on this train. Eventually, he just sort of comes through and
Right.
wakes up and walks off and
Wonders
has no
where
idea.
he is
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what's
why
happened.
nobody helped.
Similar
and-
to the case. Remember when it was at an airport in America somewhere. There was one person went, "Oh, what's that strange smell?" And all of a sudden, people are dropping to the floor, fainting, getting sick.
Yeah, right.
And it was nothing. It was just
Mob mentality.
mob mentality. Yeah.
So this woman that was sitting next to her, she was the one that jumped up. She stood up and bolted, and the timing just so happened to be just as the train was pulling in
Right.
to the station. And the crowd reaction, everyone else on the train jumped up and followed her.
So no one thought, "Oh, this woman's just getting off at this station."
Well, I think she
would have panicked
screamed
enough
and
to make them all go, ah.
Yeah, it was just that panic sensation. And I
Right.
think, wasn't there a story at the start of the year or something about
With-
a guy in Beijing or something that stabbed
Oh,
all the people
yeah,
underground?
yeah. That's probably what they're all freaking out about,
see,
actually.
yeah.
So
that
there
was
Because
was
that's
that.
happened a couple of times. That hasn't just happened once.
Yeah. So there was that, and that's what I mean. Like,
I think
are
it was
we
in
living
Japan,
in
though.
fear subconsciously? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a renowned psychologist, Bob Montgomery, said that the reaction was normal because people pick up cues around them that something is unusual and potentially threatening,
Yeah.
and they panic. And the most common reaction is not to react at all. So he gave an example that if a fisherman is standing on a wharf and washed into the ocean, most people would just stand there and watch him drown.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's called bystander non-intervention.
Right.
But the man on the train eventually woke up, and as I said before, he got up and walked off. But I remember when I was 11 years old, I was on Sunday nights, we used to go for Chinese.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was watching Young Talent Time, because that's what used to always be
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And I passed out. And
What?
I just passed out.
Yeah.
And I woke up with my stepfather and my mum standing over me. My stepfather was yelling at me for upsetting mum.
Really?
And I was like, I didn't even know what had happened. I said, well, I don't even know what's just happened. Then we realised that I'd passed out.
Yeah.
But they thought that I was deliberately trying.
They thought you were mucking around, sort of thing. Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
That's
great.
hilarious.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just
No,
goes to
but
show
mob
you too much
mentality.
MSG in the food and you pass out.
Isn't it weird though that like in China, a person faints and everyone leaves, But in Melbourne, you got guys who are talking to themselves about they're going to serial kill people, and nobody gets off. Nobody even questions it.
No,
nobody even tells anyone.
Because no one believes
so
him.
normal in
Yeah,
Melbourne.
exactly.
Speaking of normal, in Melbourne, we've got the top 3 UFO stories from Australia. Let's go to number 1.
Well, look, number 1 is a story close to home, and it's known as the West Hall UFO encounter or the Clayton South UFO encounter.
Okay.
Now, this interesting event occurred at approximately 11 a.m. on Wednesday, the 6th of April, 1966, when a class of students and a teacher from West Hall High School, which is now called West Hall Secondary College, they'd just completed a sports day in the main oval when an object described as being a grey saucer-shaped craft with a slight purplish hue and being about twice the size of a family car was seen. Now, the witness descriptions are mixed. According to Andrew Greenwood, who was the science teacher, he told the Dandenong Journal at the time that what he saw was a silvery green disc. And according to witnesses, the object was descending and then crossed it and overflew the high school's southwest corner, going in a southeasterly direction before disappearing from sight as it descended behind a strand of trees into a paddock known as the Grange, which is still there.
Dun, 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 dun.
And after a short period of about 20 minutes, the object, with witnesses now numbering over 200, then climbed at speed and departed towards the northwest.
Okay,
Now, what's interesting about the whole case is the Herald Sun at the time said nothing, but The Age had a big article about it.
And the other interesting thing is you got 200 people there and not one of them walks up and goes, excuse me.
Yeah.
Well, see, what I'm putting that down to, like 200 witnesses, no one approached it and all that, 1966, it's out in Clayton South.
Yeah.
What I'm putting it down to is just a bunch of kids all tripping out on Activite. They were all on Activite in those days. So, you have too much of it, you'll see it.
And even the teacher was into it a little.
Yeah.
Why
Mob
not?
mentality, it goes
Yeah,
way
exactly.
back.
And plus, the Nicholas factory was out that way at the time.
Yeah.
So, that's what I'm putting that one down to.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You're listening to The Elegant Universe. We'll be back after this. We're all going to be lonely because Susie J has to leave the studio.
I do, and I've had such a fun afternoon with you 3 men.
Got a big acting role tonight.
Well, not quite. It's
Sort of.
hosting trivia.
Hosting trivia.
But it's corporate. Should be fun.
Yeah, well, that to us, that's acting. Yeah.
Actually, yes, I am acting, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, in a way. You're acting. Well, be safe. Be kind to small animals and dream great dreams, Susie.
I will.
Yep.
Don't
We'll
forget
see you
to
next
go
week.
to Susie J's Elegant Universe, take some photos of the way you sleep.
The way you sleep.
And join in the fun.
Yes.
That's right.
All right, have a great week,
Susie
boys.
J's way. We'll see Susie next week. We'll be back after this. What's the classic joke? Not like my granddad.
Yeah.
He went peacefully in his sleep. Yeah. Not like his passengers who were screaming. It turns out that there's a very famous UFO case that most of the really good ones come from Australia, but this one comes from the middle of the Nullarbor.
Oh, yeah, this is a beauty. This is an absolute pisser, and it's my favourite UFO story, and it actually resulted in the highest rating episode of A Current Affair since Mike Willesee showed up drunk.
Yeah.
And it involves the Knowles family. Now, the Knowles family consisted of Mother Faye and her 3 sons, 24-year-old Patrick, 21-year-old Sean, and 18-year-old Wayne, along with their 2 dogs, travelling along the Nullarbor in their 1986 model Ford Telstar. Now, Sean was driving, his older brother sitting beside him. They saw on the road ahead of them a bright light, a really bright light. Right. Their curiosity piqued somewhat. Sean put his foot down in order to catch up with this curious light shining on the road. That would soon prove to be their biggest mistake, ladies and gentlemen. The Knowles Ford Telstar soon caught up with this curious bright light that now took on the shape of an angular egg. And it's sort of, like an egg in an egg cup with a yellow centre, estimated at about 1 metre wide. So they're looking at a 1 metre giant egg in front of them now.
Right.
It appeared to be either on the road or floating just above it, and it was moving back and forth. Sean swerved to avoid this object, almost colliding with a car towing a caravan travelling in the opposite direction, who apparently didn't see the egg. Now, as they continued along, the Knowleses soon became concerned that the glowing egg-shaped object was following them, so they've obviously overtaken it.
Yeah.
And then they heard a clunk and felt the car being pushed down by a heavy weight.
Yeah.
Then the car seemed to be lifted off the road. Now, Mum, Faye, was so frightened, she wound down her window, reached out for the roof, and felt something that she quotes as being soft and rubbery that was hot. You know, a bit like a hot dog, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
When-
shaking her fist. Get off my lawn, you aliens.
Yeah.
Now, when Faye pulled her arm
Slowed the lawn.
back inside the vehicle, it was covered in a strange black
Ash.
dust.
Or ash.
Yes. Now, this is where things get really creepy. The family were now terrified, and they soon became disorientated, and later recounted that their voices sounded slower and lower in pitch, kind of reversed to helium. Patrick later said that he felt like his, and this is another quote, "me brains were being sucked out." Meanwhile, the car's speedometer registered speeds that the small car would highly be unlikely to achieve. So this is where, you know, the Ford Telstar did do 200. Then the car appeared to drop back onto the road, bursting the rear tyre on the right-hand side.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Yeah, no, go
Okay,
on, go
yeah,
on.
right, okay. So
I
it's
mean, there are
burst the rear
so
tyre.
many holes.
I
in this
know,
story.
right?
Go on.
Now, after pulling off the road, the Knowleses jumped out of the car, hid behind some nearby bushes, shaken and scared, and eventually, after some time, returned to the car, changed the tyre, and drove at speed to the nearest town. Now, there were physical traces on the car,
Yep.
corroborating evidence from a truck driver, and sincerity in the Knowles' own testimony on a current affair that point to something extremely out of the ordinary happening on that highway that night. But according to Jenny Randalls, the author of Time Storms, the Knowles' encounter had more to do with a natural phenomenon that she calls a time storm, in which time itself is distorted rather than a UFO encounter.
Really?
Indeed, there seem to be a number of similarities with other cases she investigated.
Yeah.
So, you know, whether the Knowles were terrorised by a UFO or they inadvertently drove into a time storm, there's little doubt that this family experienced something baffling and terrifying that night on the Nullarbor.
Wow.
Oh, no.
Do
And-
you want me to pull this apart now, or should
Well,
we do it later?
Later.
God.
We'll do it later. It's
Yeah.
too big. There are so many.
Pixenology. Like for just one. The car's lifted off the road,
Yeah.
but the speedo and the speedos are connected to the
Yes.
revolution of the
Yes,
wheels.
yes.
The
Who's
car's-
got their foot on the accelerator?
Well, even then, the speedo is not going to register if the car's
No.
off the road.
No, it wouldn't.
Look, ladies and
dum,
gentlemen,
dum,
anyone
dum,
listening out there, if you are a big fan of Mythbusters,
Yep.
Yeah.
this is the one. This is the one
Yeah.
that they need to replicate. The Ford Telstar on the Nullarbor plain,
Flying.
you know, and
Yeah.
I bet you they could replicate it by driving over in a Echidna.
Yes. Yeah. From Dimension X. Echidnas from parallel planes. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
We'll be back. Turns out when Susie J left, we probably lost all our Sydney listener.
That's funny.
Speaking of conspiracy theories, Frankie.
Yes, well, this is the our final conspiracy theory for the day, and it involves everyone's favourite Japanese cat, apparently,
Yeah.
Hello Kitty.
Hello, Kitty.
Now, that little weird-looking cat thing
Yeah.
isn't actually a cat after all. It turns out
Pokemon.
that Hello Kitty is actually a young British girl.
What?
Huh?
Those whiskers that you see on its face, ladies and gentlemen, aren't whiskers at all. They're eyelashes. Now, confirmation for this actually comes from Sanrio Kotaku, who's the cartoon character's inventor.
Yeah.
And he calls this character a personification or anthropomorphization
Yeah, but they
of a
turn it-
cat, right?
Yeah.
He's basically putting the cat features onto a little girl, hence the ears
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
the nose, but that's also why it's got no mouth. Now, you
What,
think,
he's saying British schoolgirls
Have no
haven't got
mouth.
mouths, or they shouldn't speak.
well,
Which
we're,
is
we're,
this?
we're getting to that.
Yeah, right,
we're
okay,
getting
go
to
on.
that. Now,
Right.
here's the thing. Why would you
Mm.
design a cat-looking like creature
Mm.
that's a little girl from England that's marketed to Japanese children? Okay, now I've done some research into this, and it turns out that the inventor was actually, he grew up in Hiroshima.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Nuclear deformities.
You've got it in one, Shane. You've got it in one. He believes that through exposure to radiation and the nuclear bomb going off in his hometown, that eventually humans would anthropomorphize into cat people.
Yep.
Now, this is a conspiracy that's also got something to do with lizard people, believe it or not. Our favourite lizard people are back again.
We love these connections.
Yes, that's right. Now, where the connection with that is, the lizard people apparently have been sponsoring Sanrio to produce this cat to convince people that it's actually, we're going to anthropomorphize into cat people instead of lizard people, which are actually the ones that are trying to take us over.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can, girls now, they put the ears on and they can buy cat costumes and all that sort of stuff, At least the girls I hang around with.
The Nico.
Yeah. Here's the other thing, too, just on that same connection, what you have reminded me of, Frankie, is that this will blow you away. I think you may already know this, Pete. But the cartoon character Wonder Woman?
Oh, yeah.
But DC Comics. Originally, that was Wonder Woman, as we know her now, was originally a BDSM comic. And it was designed, Wonder Woman was, can't think of the guy's name right now, but he would have this bevy of women who all used to dress up in black and whip him and do all this kind of weird, and they'd all chain each other up. He lived in a fat lifestyle household, and he's created this character.
And he had a slave.
He had a slave, and everything. He's created this character called Wonder Woman. Most people reading the comic now have no idea what the original comics were like.
Oh, well, that's it. But, I mean, the alternate conspiracy with Hello Kitty, and this is a bit more down to earth, is that it's to stop the feminist movement in its tracks. I mean, it came out in 1976 when feminism was really big, and it was created to make sure that people continue to think of little girls as little kittens, so forth and so on, etc., etc.
Hello Kitty's been around how long?
Well, nearly 40 years.
Wow. I only came across it maybe in the last 5 or 6 years.
No, in 1976 it first appeared in the United States. It didn't appear in Australia until the 80s, and same in Great Britain. And I think it was actually
they must be worth
put together in
now.
Japan in 75.
That is amazing. Speaking of amazing, you've reached the end of another edition of the Elegant Universe.
That's right.
Don't forget to go and check out Susie J's page, Susie J Facebook at Elegant Universe. We want to see pictures of you in bed.
The way you sleep.
Yeah, and go to our Facebook page.
The Elegant Universe, of course.
Yeah, and let us know what you think, what's weird, wacky and wonderful going on in your life. And on behalf of myself and the crew, thanks for joining us again, Frankie.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks, Peter, for having me.
Peter.
Worries.
Thanks for coming, Peter.
No worries,
always. It's good to have, can't do it without you, at the host. I'll ask you to do 2 things for us. Listen, be kind to small animals and children and dream great dreams.
That's 3 things.